So, welcome. So I'm going to talk to you a little bit, a brief overview of some of the examples, different examples of crowdsourcing and how they're applicable to furthering the goal of environmental and ethical sustainability in fashion, which obviously is something that's close to my heart with my own business. So you're probably familiar with a few different types of crowdsourcing already. These are a few examples you may or may not be familiar with. Some involve crowdfunding, crowd voting, crowdsourcing, open innovation, and we all have a different understanding of what crowdsourcing means, so I'm going to clear it up a little bit for you. So, in my mind, there are three main types of crowdsourcing. Crowdfunding, obviously, we've heard quite a bit about already, which is the one that I think most people are most familiar with. Crowd voting, which involves, harnessing the crowd to vote on what their preferences are, and then what gets the highest vote is eventually produced. And then, of course, crowdsourcing and open innovation, which doesn't necessarily always result in a product that is made, but is the idea of gathering tasks and ideas together in a group. Crowdsourcing and open innovation are very similar in a lot of ways, where they're, like I said, they're gathering tasks and ideas to solve a problem or a question. Whereas with crowdsourcing, the main difference is that there's usually a focus point or an end or a product that is, one or a few ideas that will come to fruition. That's the word I'm going for. And there's probably going to be some sort of a prize at the end of it or a payout for the person who had the best idea. Whereas open innovation is something that's going to be ongoing, much like Wikipedia or Mozilla's development of gathering ideas on an ongoing basis. And the reward at the end of it is that you got to make the product better, not necessarily a monetary end. So going into some more specific examples, Kickstarter is the one that comes up most often, but we're seeing crowdfunding going in fashion into a number of different new areas, into specific opportunities for young designers, for instance, such as Alive Shoes, which is a startup that's being run out of Italy. Luca Botticelli, sorry, I'm a little bit off on his last name. Anyways, what he allows is for young designers or anybody with a great idea to design a pair of shoes which they then invite their friends, colleagues, or anybody who might be interested to pre-fund that design. And once it hits seven shoes is all that it needs in order to be funded in the end, made in Italy and produced and sold. And you get your own individual online shop. So we're seeing more examples like this. Gustin Denim for denim, crowdsourced or crowdfunded denim in the US. Beta Brand, which I'll talk about a little bit more. We're seeing a lot more of these very niche and brand or item-specific crowdfunding sites. Now, when we go to sustainability, the idea of crowdfunding, especially with Alive Shoes, we're looking at creating products that are wanted. They're already pre-backed by somebody. Somebody's already bought it before it even exists. So we're reducing a lot of the overproduction that is inherent in the current fashion system. And we're seeing a lot of the big box brands like, fast fashion brands like H&M and Zara, who are working towards smaller batches of products, lots of small batch products, obviously. But this small batch idea allows for reduction of waste, essentially. And this is a big idea, and one of the most important ideas within sustainability in fashion is this reduction of waste, not producing things that people don't need. Threadless, of course, is the big crowdsourced, crowd voting example from the US. Spreadshirt is another example out of Germany. They originally started as a forum. It's actually the longest running fashion crowdsourcing business in existence and still successful. They have over 1 million followers on Facebook and I think about 230,000 individuals that contribute to their design contests. And they started off just as a forum for guys who liked funny t-shirt logos to design and have their designs voted on by their friends and see who liked what. And eventually the voting turned into, or the crowdsourcing, crowd voting, then turned into funding. You'll see now that Threadless has a new feature that they're pre-funding some of their projects. It's interesting when you ask, there was a recent interview last year with Jake Nichols, one of the founders of Threadless. He says that the voting process actually has very little impact on what is actually produced. The most popular designs are actually quite polarizing. People either love them or hate them. So in reality, what happens is the designs are a little bit more subdued that don't stand out as much are actually the ones that get funded. It's sort of an interesting aside of the whole concept. Betabrand, as I mentioned before, does focus on the idea of crowdsourcing ideas, and the voting aspect of it is really front and center. You can see actually they use the terminology vote, but they do fund as well. They're pre-funding the projects. And you'll notice that it's kind of a gray area as to which of those three types of crowdsourcing these different